Addies Grunts, admin SweetBananaGaming here with more of my Pokemon Y Wonderlocke. And yes, today is a training episode because I am afraid of Reflection Cave, so I want to get my team leveled up. Not quite to level 30, I think I level everybody up to in between level 26 and 29 or something like that. So we should be alright for Reflection Cave hopefully by the end of this. I also, in the video, you'll see later on, I actually go into the battle, I keep wanting to say the Battle Maison, but it's the other one, the Battle Chateau, that's it. And I do a little training. There was some dialogue there that I just, I skipped over. I'm speeding up this whole thing because it's not really really relevant to the story. It's just a good tool for training, so I used that a little bit also to get some money. But yeah, so this video, however long it is, sped up. In the meantime, I'm going to talk and do a little Q&A with you guys, because I'm recording this not too long after my last episode came out, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to gather viewer questions, but this episode you're in for a treat because I have gathered some questions from my lovely fellow admins, so they are going to, they asked me some questions, some pretty good questions, hopefully for me to use a lot of time explaining a little bit, keep things interesting. Okay, so here we go. First question, a pretty basic one, and which is, what sparked your interest in Pokemon? Well, for me, growing up, I was always one of those kids who, I wasn't super popular in school. I know probably a lot of people have that story, but I tended to be more of like, I would try to follow the rules as far as try to listen to what the teachers said in school and listen to adults and stuff. But I didn't really get along with most of my peers that well, and probably partially being an only child, I didn't get used to dealing with people my age at first, so I had a hard time getting along, but I ended up being sort of a purposely non-conformist in a certain way, in that whenever something became popular, I just instantly was not into it. I wanted to avoid it. So when Pokemon first came around, got popular in the United States, I was about 8 years old or so, and at first I kind of really avoided it. I didn't want any part of it. I'm like, oh, it's popular, therefore it's bad. I was one of those people, those annoying people. But, whatever. I was like that for a while. But then, eventually, one or two of my friends that, I like to play video games with and talk about video games with, they were into Pokemon. So, after a while, I said, okay, well, my friends are into this. I'd like to be able to talk to them or, figure out, join them, play at recess with them because everybody brought their Game Boys to recess. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna check out Pokemon. I was about 9, I guess, at the time. So I checked it out, I played the games, I got blue version and red version, I really liked it a lot, and so yeah, the rest is history. So basically, I avoided it for a while. I tried it because finally my friends were really into it, and so then the rest is history, and I actually ended up staying a Pokemon fan longer than any of my friends who actually got me into Pokemon. I had to go through those awkward high school years, late middle school, high school years where you kind of, oh, aren't you too old for Pokemon? And then of course you go to college. I don't know if anybody else around college age has found this out, but by the time you get to college, everybody is just willing to they're not afraid to show their fandoms, no matter what it is. You have the bronies and you have the other fandoms, but Pokemon is another big one. I met a lot of people that I could relate to that were just really into Pokemon and stayed into it for a lot of years. So it took me, I was a little bit late getting on the bandwagon, but I think I stayed on it longer than anybody I knew growing up. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, so good question. Next question. Let's see. Alright, here's a good one. And of course, this one comes from our leader, Ovi. If I could be a gym leader, I guess I'll read it. If you could be a gym leader, what would you be? What type and what Pokemon would you use? Well, my choice for type, it's pretty easy just based on the fact that there has never been a gym of this type, and that's Dark type. And it's something I don't quite understand. Like, the other new types that have been added in the generation, they add the new type, they usually make a gym of that type. So like, for example, Gold and Silver, they added Steel type, they had a Steel type gym. In X and Y, they added Fairy type, they had a Fairy type gym. Now granted, they had a Dark type Elite Four member kind of in Gold and Silver, Karen, but she also used ghost Pokemon, so she wasn't exclusively a dark type user. So there have been a lot of dark type Elite Four members, but not any gym leaders still. So I think it would be interesting to have a gym leader using dark type Pokemon, and figure out what Pokemon I would use. I kind of compiled a list, just sort of off the top of my head. I thought about it a little bit, but just like the first kind of 6 that came to mind of dark Pokemon that I would like, that I think would be good to counter the weaknesses of each other, sort of. So I have Scrafty to counter... What was I countering? It's really weak to Fairy, but it would counter... oh, I guess it's Ice type, which was... for the next Pokemon, I was going to use Hydreigon, so you have Scrafty to counter Ice types for that. You have, also Scrafty has resistance to bugs, so there's that. And now both of them are really weak to Fairy. They're super weak to Fairy, both of them. So I would have also a Drapion. Is that how you say it? Is it Drapion or Drapion? I don't know. I haven't heard its name said in the anime, and I haven't checked the Pokédex 3D app in a long time, so I don't remember. I'll just say Drapion, I guess. Anyway, I would use him because part poison type, that would be a huge counter to fairy types, which, of course, Scrafty and Hydreigon are both super weak to. Then, to counter the fighting weakness of Dark, well, I have Drapion for resistance, but also Malamar, Dark and Psychic. Malamar's pretty cool, interesting type combination. Of course, it's super weak to bugs, so I would have to, you know, have my other Pokemon sort of back him up for that. Also, Sableye would be good, because, I mean, Sableye's weak to Fairy also, but other than that, no weaknesses, so Sableye pretty much counters everything that's not Fairy, and then I could have Drapion counter Fairies. I would probably Mega Evolve Sableye, if, you know, assuming gym leaders don't usually Mega Evolve, but, you know, if you assume, like, a rematch, or the Pokemon World Tournament type of thing, so if, you know, a gym leader at their best. But I might have Sableye be my Mega, but I wouldn't be sure, depending on what my 6th Pokemon was, because I'm on the fence. I wanted a pure Dark type, and my 2 sort of favorite pure Dark types are Umbreon and Absol. So I really liked Umbreon right from the get-go. Umbreon was probably still my favorite evolution. I don't know, I just like the evolutions in general, but Umbreon was always my favorite for a long time. And Umbreon is pretty good, pretty tanky. Not as great offensively, whereas Absol is kind of the reverse. Absol has great attack and can be pretty nasty, and also Mega Evolves, so you have like the full offensive with Absol or defensive with Umbreon. So either one I would pick one or the other of them. I probably might rather use Absol because I already have Sableye for defense, but then again, I might want to Mega Evolve Sableye, so maybe use Umbreon instead of a Mega Absol, I don't know. So anyway, going down the list again, my 6 Pokemon that I would probably use as a Dark-type gym leader would be Scrafty, Hydreigon, Malamar, Drapion, Sableye, and either Umbreon or Absol. It's hard to choose between those two. I like them a lot for similar reasons. They're both, like, quadruped, cat/dog sort of Pokemon that I really like both of their designs. And they're not the best at what they do, but they're pretty good at what they do. Umbreon being a tank and Absol being a physical attacker. So anyway, that's pretty much what I'd do as a gym leader, I think. I think Dark-type ought to, you know, have some representation. There's a follow-up question to that, though, about, as long as we're talking about gym leaders. Another question was, if you could make a badge name for each type, what would you call them? So basically, taking each Pokemon type and coming up with a new badge name for them, which over the more recent Pokemon games, there have been, you know, some of the badge names have gotten really unoriginal. You know, what was it? In X and Y, you had the Psychic badge and the Fairy badge, so really, like, obvious. The Bug badge, I believe, was in Generation 6. So it's hard to come up with good creative badge names that are connected to the type, the Pokemon type, and come up with new ones every time that are just as good. So sometimes though they have to do with the gym leader. So like if the gym leader, I can't think of a good example right off the bat, but like if they have to do with mining, you'll have the, I forget what's his name? Not Rourke, Byron in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. I forget what his badge is called, but you know, something like that. Like his theme is mining, and so's Rourke, actually. Rourke's badge, I think, is the coal badge, so that's like related to mining. It's related to what he does. It's related to the gym leader. So I just tried thinking of type names. I mean, I put some thought into this, but this is basically first semi-good idea that came to my mind. I have a list here. So starting with dark, because we were just talking about my dark type gym, name would be the Midnight badge. I don't know, it's dark, nighttime is dark, midnight is kind of a cool word. Nothing more beyond that. Normal type, the canvas badge, because think of normal as sort of like a blank canvas. It's sort of, you have all these possibilities with normal types. A lot of normal types have a really wide moveset. Maybe you could have the gym leader be an artist or something, and kind of a painter, and kind of connect the two together. Fighting, the knockout badge maybe, because you already have badge names like the Cobble badge, is it Dynamo badge? I don't know, I'm getting a little rusty. I had my list of badge names out a few minutes ago, but I don't remember all of them. So you have names like that having to do with fighting. The knockout badge, maybe you could have the gym leader be like a boxer, have the gym be like a big boxing arena. Kind of like what they did for, what is his name? The fighting type Elite Four member in Black and White, whose name escapes me. And as soon as I finish this recording, I know I'm going to remember it, but him, he has sort of like, looks like a boxing type or martial arts arena type of thing. So you could do that. Grass, I thought maybe the Fern badge. There's a lot of plant-based names you can use for a grass type gym. Fire, the Charcoal badge. Maybe, you know, the gym leader works with charcoal or whatever like that. In Azalea Town in Gold and Silver, you have the guy who has his Farfetch'd cut down the trees. Another thing I thought with fire type would be, for a gym theme, would be to have sort of like a cooking theme, and which was kind of done already in the trio badge, the Striaton gym badge in Black and White, where you had like the restaurant theme, but this time maybe exclusively to fire, so like the cooking things. Charcoal badge, could think of like a barbecue, I don't know, that's kind of silly, but no one said every gym had to be serious, right? Water type, I thought the Delta badge, because one of the uses of the word Delta is when you have like a river feeding out into the ocean, and Delta is kind of a cool word. Of course, we already have in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, we have the Delta episode, Rayquaza's the Delta Pokemon with Delta Stream, so maybe the word Delta is a little overused, but it could apply here as well. Electric, maybe the Blitz badge. We have a Blitz being part of the German root word for lightning. I don't know, another different thing, because we've already had the Voltage badge. Did we have the Bolt badge, I think, too? The Beacon badge for when there was a lighthouse, the Thunder badge, of course. So yeah, maybe the Blitz badge, why not? Ground type, the Dune badge. You could think of maybe the town that the gym is in like a desert thing, and you could have, you know, a lot of sand, because I thought of like the Sand badge, but that's kind of a weird name. Maybe the Dune badge would be a cool word. For rock, the Jetty badge, which would be interesting if you had a rock type gym leader with a city on a beach, which I guess is actually kind of like, what's the name? Sillage City in X and Y, where you have Grant's gym, and he's kind of on a cliff, and then he does like all these sports, rock climbing and stuff, but it's next to, there's like a beach there, because there's the ocean there. But something like that, if you had a gym leader there, and then maybe he would use some rock and water type Pokemon, just because you're on the sea there. I don't know, the Jetty badge. Steel type, you could have the Knight badge, that's K-N-I-G-H-T, because like you could have the whole theme. Of course, now that I think about it, what's his name? I keep forgetting people's names. The Steel type Elite Four member in X and Y, kind of like him, where he's like dressed like a knight. I keep thinking Wulfric, but that's the Ice type gym leader in X and Y. Whatever the Steel type Elite Four member's name is. We'll hopefully in this Wonderlocke, if we make it to the end, we'll see his name. Anyway, let's see. The Knight badge, you could have a whole, Knight theme, sort of a medieval Renaissance-y type of theme going there in that city. Poison, maybe the Spore badge. There weren't a whole lot of names I could think of associated with poison that didn't sound kind of disgusting. So, the Spore badge maybe, and maybe they could use a lot of grass types and bug types as well. Psychic, the Clairvoyance badge. Maybe the theme could be like a lot of the Pokemon use Future Sight. I don't know, just a gimmick. Ghost, the Wisp badge, like Will-O-Wisp or Will of the Wisps, or whatever those things are called, associated with ghosts and spirits. And yeah, maybe the key move could be Will-O-Wisp. Bug, the Nectar badge, maybe you could have a theme with a lot of bees. I guess kind of like, what's his name? I'm not remembering any gym leaders' names. So forget about it. You could have a whole theme with like a beehive and stuff, and bee Pokemon like Combee and Vespiquen. Flying, you could have the Tempest badge. You could have a lot of Pokemon that use Hurricane, for example. Like, you could have a weather combination. Maybe they could do a double battle, and one Pokemon could set up Rain Dance, and then the other Pokemon could have 100% accurate Hurricane. That would be kind of cool, the Tempest badge. Ice, the Flurry badge. So you could run a similar thing where you have a Hail-themed team. That could be a possibility. Dragon, you could do the Serpentine badge, because, well, a lot of dragons are sort of serpent-like or reptilian in their appearance, and you could also have the badge itself could be kind of cool. It could be like in an S shape, so it's a serpentine badge, literally, but then have it look kind of like a dragon in an S shape. And then finally with Fairy, we could do the Fable badge, because really we've only had one badge, the Fairy badge, and so we have a lot of options there that we could use with fairy associations there. So I think we're just about at the end of the video now, and I guess that'll do it. So grunts, if you like this video and you like this Q&A, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to Team Eclipse if you want to be a grunt. You can also check out my channel SweetBananaGaming if you want to see more. And by all means, leave more questions in the comments, because I didn't even get to all of the questions that the other admins left for me. So I could definitely use some more questions in future training episodes. And that's gonna do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of my Pokemon Y Wonderlocke.